Last year's growing season started out like this year's. We were wet, and difficult to ever get a crop in, and that's one thing good about our farmers now. They definitely have the ability to roll fast. Surprisingly, as a whole, most of the yields were pretty good. Some people had really good yields. And the best thing about it was it had the opportunity, probably the seasonal high, or I should say a long time season high price of cotton. It got up around $1.30 at one time. And as a result of that, we had a lot of people jump into cotton production. When I say a lot, more producers than normal. We had several counties that had people that hadn't grown cotton in years or had never grown cotton. And right now we're sitting at somewhere around the 80-cent range. A lot of people are hoping for that 85 cents. They feel like they can make money at that. A lot of times we get pressured, especially like last year where it rains and rains and rains, and then you just feel like, well, I've got to go, and it may be cold. And we're a little safer than we used to be in the past, and we have higher seed quality, but getting that cotton off to the early, good, warm start is vital. If it sits in the ground for 2 weeks and then comes up and all that, it's just never as good as it was if it came out of the ground in 3 to 5 days. Be patient, don't push it too hard. And I know farmers are going to say, well, you're not sitting in my seat, but you know, we have to go sometimes when the weather doesn't allow us to, but if it have a decent forecast, let that ground warm up. Last year we ended up harvesting somewhere around 630,000 acres of cotton, which is not near the highs we've ever had. We went up as high as 1 million acres and we went down as low as 300,000. If prices remain up in that mid 80 to 85 cents a pound range, hopefully it'll stay in that same range, at least 500,000 or above. Our growing seasons, you know, in Arkansas, in South Arkansas, they'll tend to if we can get the good warm weather and everything goes good, you'll be putting in somewhere in that early April. But a lot of times we have to wait till even mid-April or so down there. And in central North Arkansas, we generally shoot for the last week of April or so through the 15th and 20th of May. That's our planting window, and we'd love to have it in the last week of April and first week of May. If the weather holds out, that's an opportunity to make a really good crop, get it planted, good warm ground. Cotton is a crop that does not like cold, wet weather. Some of the things we've seen in the past that happened last year was we need to be careful, especially if we're knifing in 32% nitrogen in the ground. We need to, if we're furrow irrigating, we need to match those rows that we put the nitrogen in to the rows that we're furrow irrigating, because we got into a situation of really dry weather this year. If you didn't have that middle being watered, the nitrogen didn't get activated, the plant was needing nitrogen. And same thing if you broadcast urea nitrogen. If you're watering every other middle, one middle will get watered, will have nitrogen in it, and the other one doesn't. So we're not getting all the nitrogen the plant needs. If you have to, poke a hole every middle if your well will handle it, where you can water every middle. Just be careful of big rains coming if you do that. The biggest issue that farmers are facing right now in any of the crops is the labor. Price is probably the thing that scares them the most, but the problem they're having is labor. Cotton is a labor-intensive crop. You've got to be in it every week. And so therefore you have to have, most farmers have their own spray rigs to do their spraying for insects, and they call on the airplane when it's wet and can't. And again, you're talking about a several $100,000 piece of equipment that you need somebody who knows what they're doing on it. All tractors are expensive, and you try to find someone that don't know how to drive a tractor and pull them off the street and put them on a $400,000 tractor. That's what people deal with. When it comes to producing cotton, there's a few things we can do, and that is timeliness in everything. Timeliness on insect control, timeliness on irrigation, not being late. Cotton is a crop that's not all that forgiving. If you wait, do not stay on time with the irrigation, you can hurt yourself really bad. One other thing that can cost the farmer a lot of money, when it comes to getting close to harvest time, we will determine the time, but we don't have to spray insects anymore and we don't need to irrigate anymore. Then the next thing we're doing is cotton defoliation. And a guy needs to learn how to do it if he's new into it. You can mess up a defoliation job and cost you a lot of money and quality on the crop. China's a big buyer of cotton, and you know, who knows what'll happen with that market. We're just sitting here, we're competing against synthetics. That's a big market nowadays, is synthetics, and cotton is a crop that I've made my living on. And I love the cotton, and I think it's still one of the best clothing materials that we have. And all I can say is people is buy and wear cotton.